Mhm. All right. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the September 7th Queen City Toastmasters. I'm your Sergeant at Arms, Jamie Richardson, and I now call this meeting to order. One quick comment. My voice is a little hoarse today. You may hear it over the Zoom as well as in person. I was at the Georgia-Clemson game here in Charlotte, and I'm a Georgia fan, so it turned out very well for me. But as a fact of the day, today, September 7th in 1979, is also when ESPN debuted as the worldwide leader in sports. So whether or not you think that's a good thing from a sports fan's perspective, it was memorable and has forever changed the sports landscape. So with that, I'd like to get our meeting started. I will turn it over to our president, David Jones, our intrepid president, David Jones.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you. Good evening, everybody. I'm David Jones, president of Queen City Toastmaster. Welcome. And first thing we'd like to do is always welcome all of our guests, and we have quite a few guests online, and then we got some in person. So if we go ahead and start with Michelle, since you spoke out, you want to introduce yourself and how you heard about us and why you're here.
Thank you. I am Michelle Bennett, and I am a member of Wells Fargo CIC Toastmasters and also a member of High Altitude Advanced Toastmasters Club. And the officers there shared the information about your meeting tonight being a hybrid meeting. And I thought, well, let me just go attend a meeting. So here I am, glad to be here and glad to see all of you this evening.
Perfect. Thank you, Michelle. And I am the Sergeant of Arms for High Altitude. So I will see you here Thursday night, hopefully, if you're here in person. So, and let me see. Ernestine, I know you were here before, but do you want to introduce yourself? And if you want, I think some of your coworkers are here. If you want to introduce them yourself, that'd be great.
Okay, sure. I'll be happy to do that. My name is Ernestine Littlejohn, and I am a member of Friendship Toastmasters. Been with them for quite a while. And I'm here to visit with you guys this evening. This is a really good day to be able to bring on some of my coworkers. One of the things we're trying to do with my company, Windstream, is build a corporate club. So appreciate you guys allowing us to come. And I'm going to just quickly introduce who I see. I have Kayla Comer. She's one of my coworkers. You can wave, Kayla. You want to talk. James Chavez and CJ Barnhart, who's also a Georgia fan. Just thought I'd mention that.
Okay, perfect. Thanks.
Thank you, guys.
I think CJ's been on before. Yeah.
Yes.
Or no?
Have,
Okay,
yes.
that's what I thought. All right, I recognize the beard. I'm a beard guy. And then we also have some people here in person. I want to introduce Marquise, I believe. Marquise, just want to introduce yourself to everybody and how you heard about us.
Yeah.
Can you hear me? Is the mic on?
Oh, yeah, you're good.
Hey, my name is Marquise Rice. I heard about Toastmates a while back. Just to give you the context, I'm 22 years old. So when I was in high school, I knew about Toastmates, and I was like, you know, that's something that I wanted to get into. I was in FBLA. I was in a few clubs. So a few years down the line, I decided to take the step to get into Toastmates. I'm also pursuing a career in sales. So I wanted to pick up a few more skills. Right now, I work for the local sheriff's office in Mecklenburg County. So that's my reason.
And I think he's from England because he said Toastmates, but it's Toastmasters. Figured, good old mate. And then also we have in person here, Gabe, who is, I believe, our newest member. I don't know if he's been signed into the system yet, but he's back there if you want to wave. So he's our newest Toastmaster meeting. And are there any officer announcements before I get started? I don't know. Well, the only officer announcement is, I believe our treasurer isn't here, Balut, but our dues are due at the end of September. So you need to reach out to Balut to renew by the end of September 30th. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to our Toastmaster, who evidently is really good tonight. So let me turn it over to me. So I am the Toastmaster for tonight, and basically for the guest here, a Toastmaster runs the meeting, introduces everybody, has everything going, tries to keep things on time. And from here on out, for the guest, every person that speaks is a role that you would take on as a Toastmaster. So you could be the Toastmaster, you'll be any role or speaker that you're about to hear. And the theme for tonight is cruising, which I thought it was self-explanatory, but I had a number of people ask what it was, and it's about, I'm a cruiser. I like to go on cruise ships. And I noticed yesterday that Disney and Royal Caribbean both started up cruising again. And I've been on 18 cruises. Obviously, I'm gonna have to do 2 more because I can't go through life with 18. You gotta, have it even at 20. But I've never had a bad experience. I think a lot of people have a negative outlook of cruises, never been on it. But like I said, I've been on 18, never once had a bad experience. I really enjoy it. And I'm just wondering if anybody wants to share what their favorite vacations are. Because, I like to cruise because growing up having 2 daughters and a wife, it was always the most economical. I'd always crunch the numbers. But that's what I like. Does anybody else want to share what their favorite vacations are, or anybody online or in person or not? Or Jamie's going to, because I know he has 2 little kids, so he must also, yeah, that'd be great.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. My favorite vacations are ones where I get to be in the water. So I love snorkeling, I love scuba diving, so getting down to the Caribbean, but I've never actually done a cruise. It's always been fly down, find a hotel, find a resort or friends. So my dad was a professor and studied sea turtles, so we got to travel all around the Caribbean as a young kid.
Thank you much. And I'm going to go ahead and start introducing the people who are going to help us run the meeting. Actually, I'm going to have Jamie come back up because he's our first person. Jamie is going to be our joke master for tonight, and he's going to tell us a quick joke. So please welcome Jamie.
Forgot the order on that. Sorry, I should have just stayed here. So welcome everyone. Yes, this is the point where someone either tells a joke or tells an inspirational story. Since I joined about 4 or 5 weeks ago, it's mostly been inspirational stories. So I thought it was time for a joke. And so if you've heard this one before, just play along. So the question is, or the joke starts off with, what is a pirate's favorite letter? Out in Zoom land? I can't hear you.
R.
There we go. All right. What is a pirate's favorite color?
Black.
Orange. What is a pirate's favorite fast food restaurant?
Arby's.
Arby's. There we go. All right. And what is a pirate's favorite branch of the military?
Army.
The Army. So you guys know what pirates are, right? It's the Navy. All right, so it's a silly joke, but the point of the joke that resonated with me is it's about not getting ahead of yourself and being in the moment and sort of thinking through what you're going to say. And so as we think about our speeches as Toastmasters, it's important that we, choose our words carefully, that we pause, right, and take advantage of that moment to make sure that we're being as effective as a communicator as we can be. All right, thank you.
Thank you much. I got 2 out of 4, so it's a 50. I think I failed the test on the jokes. And next up is our grammarian, and that's going to be Bailey Beatty. And Bailey, do you want to explain your role and tell us about your word of the day?
Sure. Good evening, everybody. So my role is I'm going to listen into everybody's comments and speeches and see who has any filler words such as so, and just sort of tally up and let everyone know at the end where everyone stands with that. So that's what the role for the grammarian is. For the word of the day, I said I thought it would be perfect to sun. The sun's shining on us when you're out and cruising. So that's my word of the day.
Thank you, Madam Grammarian. And it's still sunny here a little bit, so, but it's going to be dark soon. And next up is going to be our timer, Lon. And Lon, do you want to explain your role as timer?
Sure. Good evening, fellow Toastmasters and guests. My name is Lon again. I am the timer for tonight. I will time the table topics, speakers, formal speeches, and the evaluations. I will alert each speaker of the time they have left using the green, yellow, and red background since I'm on virtual. For the table topics, you'll have 1 to 2 minutes. For the formal speeches, usually it's 5 to 7, but we have Natalie tonight, and her speech is from 18 to 22 minutes. At 18 minutes, I will turn my screen to green. At 20 minutes, it'll turn yellow, and then 22 minutes, it'll turn red, and that's for Natalie. And the last portion is the evaluations. You'll have 2 to 3 minutes on that. At 2 minutes, it'll turn green. At 2 minutes and 30 seconds, it'll turn red. And then finally, at 3 minutes, it'll turn red. Back to you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Madam Timer. And for the guest, you heard that her speech is 18 to 22 minutes, which is unusual. Most speeches are 5 to 7 minutes, but she's at the advanced stage of the pathway. She's at level 5 of presentation mastery, prepare to speak professionally. And as you progress throughout the pathways, your speeches get longer and longer. And this is one of her final speeches for the pathway, I believe, and it's 18 to 22 minutes. And I'm looking at the title and it's in Spanish and English. You can count on no, I think. So I'm going to let her introduce her title, but please welcome Natalie Alberto.
Good evening. Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, and distinguished guests. Thank you for sharing your evening with me and allowing me 18 to 20 minutes of your time. I value your time, and I wish I could have been with you in person. So I want to start by just saying thank you again, and I'm happy to be here online. As David said, my title is in English and in Spanish, so it was Con el no se cuenta, or you can count on no. I grew up in a Argentine household. I'm first generation. I was born in California, so first generation American. And I grew up in Miami and moved to Charlotte last year, to give you some context. And the two phrases you could always count on in my household, particularly from my mom, was mamita sabe, which means mom knows best, is the translation, and con el no se cuenta. And she used to tell us that you could count on no to inspire us to pursue our passion and our dreams. Tonight, I want to tell you about a dream that my brother and I brought to life using this principle. But I also want to encourage you to apply this principle in your own life, and to also consider that you don't have to know everything along the way, and you will figure it out on your journey. I also want to share with you the blessing of the word no, and I want to invite you to reconsider what questioning means when you're on a journey, because there are times when we're on a journey that we're going to hesitate. And yes, we can count on no, but the no shouldn't come from ourselves. So I will elaborate on that. Now, what if I told you this evening that you have much in common with John Foley, who's the CEO of Peloton, Henry Ford, who of course created the automobile, Walt Disney, Steve Jobs, of course, of Apple, Bill Gates? What would you all say? Raise your hand if you feel like you have a connection with these folks and what that connection might be. CJ?
I would say the connection with Steve Jobs is, retribution, second chances, coming back from the brink, innovation. So those would be my connections with that individual. Walt Disney, creativity, independent entrepreneurship. So, yep.
Love. Anyone else? Does anyone in the room want to share?
Well, I can share that I use the Apple products. I use the Microsoft products. I also visit Disney, not as often as I used to, which I'm happy about. And I can't remember some of the other folks that you mentioned. But I share with them that I use their products and their services.
Thank you so much, Michelle. Thank you, CJ, as well, for sharing. David, did you have something to share?
I would say what I have in common with all of them is the same thing we all have in common with them is time. I don't know if that's what you're looking for, but we all have the same exact amount of time as the biggest, most successful people there are.
These are all great answers, and I agree. Yes, innovation, creativity, time, those are all things that we can share and contribute with these individuals. But we also share with them the fact that they have been told no. And if you can imagine, as you delve deeper, I'm sure you've heard many of these folks' stories, but just to give you an example, John Foley, who created Peloton, was formerly a CEO at Barnes and Nobles. He launched the Nook, which was the tablet e-reader for Barnes and Nobles, which was a tremendous failure. And he ended up leaving his corporate gig to launch Peloton, but it took him over 10 years and 300 to 400 no's before he was able to fully fund and launch his venture. Now, I share that because we've all been told no many times. Tonight, that's the power behind this conversation. Now, again, I want to challenge you to reevaluate the power of no and what that means. These individuals did not give up. We've all been told no at some point. And just a quick read around the room. How did you feel when you're told no? Honestly, what do you feel? Anybody shout out some words.
I can go. So I love this topic, by the way. I think it's great. And somebody once told me, and this can happen, in work or in your romantic life, and it really stuck with me. And it's rejection is just redirection. And I think there's a lot of power behind that, because a lot of times we're emotional human beings, and it crushes our ego and we're told no. But if we zoom out of what's actually happening and just stick to sort of our core of what we're on, the path that we're on, and really believe in ourselves, and kind of talk the negative thoughts that are happening in our mind when our boss tells us no, that you're not ready for a promotion, or somebody you're dating, ghosts you and doesn't want to be with you, and you're just questioning everything. There's a bigger plan. And I think that's what kind of stuck with me with what you were just alluding to with the power of no.
Thank you so much. Yes, I agree. Rejection is redirection. I share that belief, and having faith that there is a greater plan in store. Anyone else want to share how they feel when you're told no? Well, I can tell you that when I'm told no, I don't know if I could stick it out 300 or 400 tries. It feels like a punch in the butt. It feels like you got the wind knocked out of you, and it is difficult sometimes to pick yourself back up and keep going. But con el no se cuenta, and you can count on no. What that meant in my family is that anytime you're beginning an endeavor, you're always beginning from the place of no, because you don't have this thing anyways, whatever it is you're pursuing or the vision that you set out. So there's nothing lost. If it's no, it was always a no. And that was the perspective. It was never yours to begin with. A few years ago, 6 years ago to be exact, my brother and I decided to launch a food brand. Now, we have no idea about the food industry. We did not grow up in a household where the food industry was part of our world. My mom worked in banking. My dad worked with automobiles, with having a repair shop, and then later driving 18-wheelers. So very foreign concept to my brother and I. But the idea came about because we had a love for food, and we grew up on Sunday afternoons inviting friends and family to our parents' house to barbecue. And this is from like the time that we were 7, 8 years old. Friends would always come over, and it was every Sunday. And I don't know if you've ever been to an Argentine meal or barbecue, but they last for hours. You get there, you have snacks, then the grill starts, people are having drinks, there's dessert, and by the time you're leaving, it's 10 p.m. You spend a whole day eating. So you probably start around 2 to 10 and the day is gone. And every time that we would have a barbecue, my mom made this one signature dish, chimichurri. Raise your hand if you've ever had chimichurri. Okay, quite a bit of people. But for those of you that haven't, it is a blend of parsley, garlic, oil, vinegar, and spices. And it is typically or traditionally paired with meats in Argentina because it aids in digestion because of the fresh herbs. Now, there's some urban legends behind how it made its way into Argentina. And one of those is that an Irishman named Chimichurri brought it over, and that the Argentines in Spanish couldn't pronounce curry correctly. So they were trying to say, give me the curry, or he was saying, give me the curry, and they understood chimichurri. That's some history behind the funky name. And in my mom, every family has their own recipe. So my mom's was always a hit, and we would bottle it up and give it to friends. Now, about the time that I kicked off my career in my early 20s, my mom got a job in Charlotte. She relocated, and my brother was pursuing a career in ballet and moved to Russia and then Croatia. So we were all living in different parts of the world, and I was in Miami building my career in public relations. Friends of mine started ordering it from me, and I had started cooking in my kitchen and just giving them the jars for $5. And then if they'd recycle the jar to me, I'd give them $1 off of the next order. My brother moved back from Croatia a year later, and he said, why don't we try to do this? Mom makes it for her office coworkers. They would have cultural days and people love it. You're making it for your friends. Let's give it a go. And I said, I don't know, Alan. That's my brother. I already have a job. I love my job. And it would need to have a little bit more meaning to me. And what I meant by that was not only to make our famous sauce from our cultural and share our cultural heritage with the world, but really to be able to give back to communities. So I said, if we do this, I want to do it in a way that is sustainable, responsible, good for the environment, and good for the communities that we serve. And so from day one, that was the foundation that we laid. We found a local kitchen in Rhode Island. My brother had moved to Providence, Rhode Island at the time, and it was the perfect incubator space for us to work. Now, we could really count on no, and we knew we don't know anything about the industry, but hey, let's give it a go and figure it out. We have this incubator space. We can work with them and take their expertise to guide us. And we also enrolled in a local program that was focused on corporate social responsibility. So they were helping us to understand the nuances of having a for-profit business that also did good in the community. Now, before I get ahead of myself, day one in the kitchen, we are scheduled for 4 p.m. and we think we'll be out in 2 hours. We've done this before with mom in the kitchen. Pretty easy. We already got the measurements broken out, making about 100 jars. Well, that was not the case. To our surprise, it was 3 a.m. and we had still not finished scaling. And we're doing small batch handmade to order. And at this time, we don't even have any orders because we're going to take on farmers markets and begin selling. So at 3 a.m, part of the process in a commercial kitchen is to clean up the kitchen. But there's a method you have to follow and protocol for food safety guidelines. So you put any of the jars or equipment used through a hot steamer, get those cleaned. We have a hot fill machine, so you have to wipe those down, clean them out. And you have to clean all of the floors because, of course, as you're chopping garlic, parsley, lemons and whatnot, things fall on the floor. So you got to leave everything clean for the next group of entrepreneurs that are going to use the space. So this food this food incubator is in an old elementary school that was converted, which is pretty cool, but at the same time has its inconveniences because it was retrofitted to be a kitchen. So I go to the closet where the mop is stored, and it's one of those old school janitorial closets with like one of those old school mops that's like has the gray stringy hair. Not sure if you can imagine it, but it's like that thick rope that's hanging off of it and those big yellow mop buckets. You've probably seen them in schools or like in just commercial buildings. So as we're finishing up, wrapping up at 3 a.m., I go to pour the water out, but because the bucket is so heavy and I'm so tired, the water falls out and floods the entire floor. So now we have to start the cleaning process again. It's almost 4 a.m. My brother's house is 45 minutes away because I still live in Miami. So I'm working remotely because we have our day jobs and I need to be up at 6 to start my work day. We get in the car and we both look at each other. We stay quiet. And then finally, I can't take it anymore. And I just tell him, "What are you thinking, Alan? Should we keep going?" He said, "Let's not talk about this now. I can't even do it." So we both nodded in unspoken agreement. And when we got home, we both slept an hour before starting our day shift. But from day one, we were driven by the desire to do good and to nourish and bring people together through food because we believe that all good things come together at the table. And we were committed to moving forward and did not see ourselves turning back. After that production, we slowly started gaining momentum. We fine-tuned our process. We learned a lot on that day. And we began selling at farmers markets. People liked the product, and then slowly we got picked up in grocery stores, which was really exciting. And we've been growing over the last few years. But what's been most exciting to me was keeping the promise on doing good and serving the communities that we operate in. We source our ingredients locally, so we support other small businesses. And again, our jars are made out of glassware, so they're recyclable. We compost our food based on the incubator space that we work out of. But what I'm most proud of is that last year during COVID, as a small business, we were able to work with the culinary incubator to provide food for over 300 families. And we sourced from our followers on Instagram and on other social media platforms what we called Hope Notes. So not only did we create a partnership with the culinary incubator, a local caterer, we worked holistically with those that support our business to get messages from them and create an assortment of hope notes to inspire the folks that were receiving these meals. At the end of the year as well, we had product that we bought back from one of our distributors, and we gave over 300 jars to a local food bank here in Charlotte. And that to me is the work that's most meaningful. Now I share this with you because Mesa Fresca, meaning the fresh table, it's what we stand for. And we knew nothing about the food industry, as I said. So this has really been a labor of love, figuring out as we go. And we've had many of opportunities or times when we've been told no. But as Jenny said, there's a blessing in being told no. If we'd been told yes too soon, we might grow at a rate that is unsustainable for us. And so we always try to see the positive and find where the redirection is and where it's taking us next. And I think it's also as important to, when el cuenta con el no se cuenta, or when you count on no, to tell yourself no. And so my brother and I, as business partners, we are very different in personalities, and we balance one another out because I am more creative, cautious, conservative, and I wouldn't describe myself as an entrepreneur, but I would say he's the more entrepreneurial, risk-driven. And so I think, one of us is like hit the gas and the other one's like pull the brakes, and we always balance one another out. And I think it's important to be also able to say no to yourself and redirect yourself at times. And on that night where we had that first production and had our kitchen fiasco, we questioned ourselves, as you saw, and questioned the journey that we were on. But I think it always comes back to why you're doing what you're doing and really connecting to that so that you're rooted in purpose. And from day one, as I said, we needed to know that this was more than just a food business, because I don't think we would have made it this far had we not planted those seeds and that solid foundation. So I want to encourage you to pursue your passions, whether you know the industry, whether it is a business, it could be something totally different, but you don't have to know everything. You figure it out. And I actually believe that knowing things may actually be overwhelming at times. So I believe that God doesn't always give you the full picture, because you could easily talk yourself out of it. And by seeing things step by step, it's easier to walk the path. Thank you for allowing me to share with you all today. And as I said, I would have loved to be with you in person. I would love to share with you all some of the jars of Missa Fresca. For those of you who are able to attend live next week, I'll bring some so that you can try them. But we actually have 3 sauces and marinades now. We have our classic chimichurri, a spicy chimichurri, and then a red bell pepper relish, which is a little bit more sweet and is known as salsa criolla. Thank you again, and it's been a pleasure to share with you this evening. Go pursue your passion and your dreams. You got this. Con el no se cuenta.
Thank you. Thank you, Natalie. That was awesome. Appreciate it. And can we get a timer's report from Lon?
Yes, so Natalie, you came in at 19 minutes and 55 seconds, so you definitely qualify.
Perfect. Thank you, Madam Timer. And for all the guests, earlier, the grammarian said the word of the day is sun. And the reason we do word of the day is because when we're doing a regular speech, sometimes we have to throw something in last minute. Maybe the boss says, talk about the Smith account, and you have to throw it in there. So the word of the day is something that we ask people to throw into their speeches, because we're about to do table topics and some of you are going to be called upon. So if you can throw the word sun in there somehow, that's just the challenge that we throw out there, but it's not requirement, but it's just why we have the thing. And up next is going to be our table topics master. And this is the first time doing it. He's one of our second newest members, and I believe this is his first role. Yeah. So Adam is going to be our table topics master. So please welcome Adam.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. And greetings, Toastmasters and guests. My name is Adam Maffett, the Table Topics Master. So just to give you a breakdown of the rules, I'll be asking a couple questions, calling out some volunteers or victims, depending on how quick you guys respond. So you'll give a 1 to 2 minute response on my question. At the 1 minute mark, our timer will give a green light. And then at the 2 minute mark, there'll be a red light indicating you have 30 seconds left. All right, so I'll kind of backtrack to our main theme of the night, which is cruising. So I'm from Florida, but not Miami. I'm from Tampa, another fun party city of Florida. And I've actually never been on a cruise, which is unfortunate, but I am going to go on my first cruise at the end of this month. So thinking about cruises, I talked to close family, friends, and to them, cruising is almost nostalgic. So that being said, before I ask my first question, do we have any volunteers online maybe? Yeah, Andre, would you like to go? All right, Andre. So my first question to you is, what is something nostalgic that you might want to bring back and why?
Cruising on a Sunday
Oh, sorry.
afternoon.
I want to bring back old school feel of music, live music, where you felt every word that they sung, that you tried to emulate the dances and the clothes that they wore and the person that they appear to be before you. I just saw Aretha Franklin's the homage to her life, Respect. And I saw how they laid the tracks with live bands. And that was just so nostalgic to my childhood. It made, because I grew up in Detroit, Michigan, it reminded me of those days where we just enjoyed music. So if I could bring anything back, it would be real, live, soul stirring music.
Thank you, Andre. I agree. I mean, even with COVID, I'm dying to get back out there to a concert. I know there was a couple in Charlotte not too long ago, a couple country concerts, but I agree. Do we have any other volunteers for next question? Gabe? So my next question, if you want to come on up. Yeah. So my next question is going to be tied still back to cruises. This will be talking about food. So I know on cruises, there's usually unlimited ice cream, unlimited pizza. I've still yet to experience this, but I'm looking forward to it. So with cruises, I'm not sure if you've ever been on one, but what's... Oh, is it? All right. So when it comes to cruises or any vacation destination you may have been to, what's the most interesting or weirdest combination of food you've had that you really enjoyed or didn't?
Good afternoon, fellow Toastmasters and guests. That's a great question. I think typically what I've found to be successful when I've gone, and I haven't been on a cruise, so I'd like to go one of these days, but I haven't been. But I have traveled a little bit overseas, been to Europe, Africa, South America, and typically what I've found is to eat local, like whatever the local item is, whether that's pollo in South America, and I found that if you don't do that, if you eat like American cuisine in those places, it's oftentimes not the best. And so like I was in Europe, I guess 5 or 10 years ago, and chose to get a steak, and I was super excited about this. I was in Germany and just gotten off the Autobahn and was super excited about this steak. I mean, I was just chomping at the bit. I was ready for some American food after a week of being there and trying everything else there. And anyway, I was definitely a little bit disappointed. It was well overcooked, and the season, I mean, it was not a great steak. And so the key takeaway for me was, hey, wherever you are, whether it's on a cruise or just eat local, and usually you can't go wrong.
Thank you, Gabe. All right. Do we have a third volunteer? Well, we got to make it 3 for 3. Last time I was here, there was no one wanted to volunteer. This is great. Let's keep it going. Anyone else, or maybe in the room? Marquise, would you like to go since you're here? All right. All right, so my third question, I'll stick with cruises since we're on the topic. So in 2015, I want to say the cruise line MSC came out with a 1-year-long cruise that cost $75,000 that included 75 countries, just all around the world. So maybe think about and give me an answer on what countries would you like to visit just on a cruise? Would you even do a year-long cruise? What's the longest you would really go? I know that was more than one question, but
I'm gonna answer the first one. Hi, everybody. Marquise again. So this is gonna sound crazy, I've never been outside of Charlotte. So to answer your question, I would love to go somewhere local in the United States. I haven't been to Florida at all. Miami. I want to go to Miami, New York, Los Angeles. I know that doesn't count as somewhere to go on a cruise, but I want to go somewhere here in the United States. What was that second question? I would want to stay in those places for at least a month and a half. Why? Once again, I've never been outside of Charlotte. You can thank my parents for that. So yeah, that's Miami, Los Angeles, New York, and I got to give you a fourth one. Oh yeah, Washington. Definitely, definitely. Thank you.
Thank you, Marquise. All right, so we do have time for another. Do we have any other volunteers potentially on teams? Yeah. I see Ernestine. I'm sorry, I apologize if I butchered your name.
You're fine. It's Ernestine.
Ernestine, all right. So another question. So when it comes to cruises, and I did a lot of Googling before this, so I saw that at some point there used to be a late night talk show host on a cruise. I want to say it was maybe Craig Ferguson or one of the older ones, Conan, at some point did some late night show on a cruise ship. So if you were a late night host, who would you have on set to interview and why?
I was a late night, and I'm someone who's been on a few cruises, and there's several shows on a cruise. But if I wanted to have a guest on a cruise, I would have to pick. This may sound crazy, but Steve Harvey comes to mind because it has to be a comedian. It would have to be a comedian. When you think about a comedian is most entertaining. And when you're on a cruise, when you're out there away from life as usual, you want to enjoy yourself, you want to laugh, you want to feel happy. And that's something that a comedian would do. So even if you're just giving them an interview, not even actually giving them a spotlight, but just talking to them, this is their natural way. This is something that just pours out of them. But I think that in itself would be very entertaining, and it would be good. Even if I ask stories, ask questions, personal questions, somehow it's going to come out with a comical way to it, just like how we try to integrate that in some of our speeches, little humor. So that's who I would interview. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. All right. Do we have time for one more? Yeah. I'll do one more. All right. Any other volunteers? I think you called out. What'd you call it? CJ? Is that what you called out? Yes, CJ. CJ, were you? Yeah, you're smiling. You're ready to go. All right.
Sure, let's do this.
All right. So CJ, thinking back to cruises, catching me off guard. I didn't really have a fifth one prepared, but but I feel like I have to do it now. So when it comes to cruises and shows, maybe give an example of something, the wildest excursion you've been on a cruise and what that was like. If you've not been on a cruise, maybe the wildest adventure you've been on outside of Charlotte.
So I've been on one cruise. It was to the Bahamas. I would guess the wild, and we went on a snorkeling trip, and most probably memorable moment, nostalgic moment to go along with all of the points made tonight was the boat driver on the way out to the snorkel point, and all of the benefits that he mentioned that come along with eating conch. So yes, yeah, that's what I remember, and probably one of the comedic parts of my cruise. So do anything that you need. Conch salad is the answer as far as this gentleman was concerned, right? So that's my answer to that. That's all I have to say about that.
Thank you, CJ. All right. Before I pass it on to the Toastmaster, I'd like to get a timer's report.
So Andrea came in at 58 seconds. Gabe came in at 1 minute and 10 seconds. Marquise, did I say it right? Came in at 1 minute and 1 second. Ernestine, I may have pronounced that wrong, came in at 1 minute and 18 seconds. And last, CJ came in at 47 seconds.
Thank you. And let me pass this back on to our Toastmaster, David.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Adam did really good for his first time. That's very scary. A few improv questions on there. And let me see what else. All right. Looks like we're going to go ahead to the next part of the meeting, which is the evaluations. And for the guest, evaluating the speaker or speakers is always a big part of Toastmasters because it kind of gives you some feedback on what you can improve on and what you're doing good. And it's just a process. So I'm going to go ahead and let Jenny explain her role as a general evaluator, and she'll introduce our individual evaluators. So take it away, Jenny.
Great, thanks Toastmaster David. So I will be evaluating the meeting as a whole. But before I do that, I'm going to introduce Avinash. I don't know, that's how you pronounce it. That's going to be evaluating Natalie's speech. I don't know if they're there in person or.
Yeah, I'm here. Thank
you. Okay.
Thank you, Jennifer. Greetings, fellow Toastmasters and respected guests. My name is Avinash Singh, and I will be giving the evaluation for the speech given by Natalia. So let me start, Natalia. It was an excellent speech, very clean speech, and I think you justify why it's a level 5 speech, not just in terms of time, but the clarity, engagement, gestures, everything came out very well. There was a crispy storyline. There was a flow in the speech, started with a good introduction, then a storyline, flew into the examples and the main part of the story. Excellent introduction. Throughout the speech, you used the examples, which was really good. What I really liked was the personal story. I look for the speeches where there are personal examples, there are personal story, it draws me a lot, to the speech. I can relate it a lot. Quite engaged speech. And throughout when you were telling about the story, how you started the Mesa Fresca, I was keen to know what happens next throughout the story. As you were telling about how it was 3 o'clock, then I was keen to know, okay, what happens after that? So that means it was quite engaging. I like that part. There was a human touch, which you shared about sharing, 300 bottles to a Charlotte group, which is really good. There was a mix of native Spanish words, which I really liked. There was a message in the story, which I believe all of us can benefit from. Now, the speed at which you spoke was really good. What I mean by that, not only the native English speaker, but even the non-native speaker like me can easily understand the flow, the content, what you are speaking, which is really good. Tone of your speech flew as per the flow of the speech. Excellent use of gestures. And throughout the speech, I could see that you were at ease. It was bright and sunny speech, I would say. Really, if you want to ask me what you need to work or improve, I really find it difficult what I could say on those aspects, but only thing there are very little that I would like to highlight is a couple of places you used and so. That's the only thing that you could probably improve on, but just minor details. That's all from my side. Back to you, Jennifer.
Thank you, Avinash. At this point, I'd like to ask Lon for a timer's report or the evaluation.
Yes, so Avinash came in at 3 minutes and 15 seconds, right on time.
Great. Great, thank you. And at this point, I'll just evaluate the whole meeting. So I have to say, I really loved this meeting. I thought it was just very well organized. I thought the theme of a cruise was interesting, David. Given that we're wrapping up summer and everybody's just kind of holding on to their last summer memories, and obviously cruising is a big part of, you know, a vacation idea that people do in the summer. There was a couple of things that I thought were just really just well done overall in terms of the speeches. I thought everyone, Natalie's speech and the table topics, everybody gave some anecdotal story about their life. And I think that's always really important in giving a presentation, public speaking, because it helps the audience really connect to it. And if they can relate to it, they put themselves in sort of that moment. If they might have experienced something similar, it's just very powerful. So I love that just across the board, there was a lot of that happened throughout everybody's, delivery. I thought it was very organized and fluid. The meeting, everything ran on time. We were able to pack in about 5 table topics, which was unusual, but it was great. It was all good content. I thought it was just a lot of good energy that was brought forward, despite the long weekend and everybody's probably a little bit tired. I did feel that everybody just brought really good energy to the topics that they covered. A couple other things that I got from Natalie's speech that I wanted just to briefly talk about that I thought was really interesting is, and it also connected even in the intro with the joke master about pausing before jumping to conclusions. And then Natalie had mentioned this idea of, the idea of being told no. So if I had to kind of sum that up and how I took, what I took from that is just, should always like really listen to your gut and just be anchored in purpose, right? And process information before reacting. We're all just reactive individuals as human beings. So sometimes we let information, kind of mess with our ego. And it's important to kind of just sit and process with the experiences that we have. And really at the end, if I can sum it up of all the different topics today, is really just trust the journey that you're on. So yeah, I thought it was a great meeting. And at this point, I will ask for the grammarian's report.
Thank you, Jennifer. So just going down the list, David had one and one Natalie had an and a so. Gabe had one Marquise had one CJ had 2 and 1 Jennifer had 2 3 and and Avinash had an and David used the word of the day, sun. And that's all I have. Thank you, Jennifer.
Great. Thank you, Bailey. And at this point, I will hand it over back to our Toastmaster, David.
Thank you, Madam Grammarian. I appreciate it. And I believe Avinash used the word sun too. He threw it in there at the minute. And usually we have ballot counters and polls and all that good stuff, but we're not doing that right now just because we're in hybrid and it's kind of confusing. Therefore, we give out our ribbons to various different people for their things. And so we had a couple on Zoom doing table topics. And actually it was a 3-way tie in my mind. It was Andrea, Marquise, and CJ. So you all won table topics tonight. So congratulations to you all. And in person, we had Marquise. How do you pronounce it? I'm sorry. Marquise. You want to come up and get your little ribbon? You are the table topics winner of the night. So appreciate it. There you go. And also we had somebody else in person doing the table topics, and he is our newest member, Gabe. So Gabe, I want to give you our new member ribbon. So if you want to come up and get that. We always give new member ribbons to our newest members. And by default, of course, our best evaluator goes to Avinash. Great job. And our favorite speaker, of course, is Natalie. And the only other thing I want to do real quick, because we are running right on time, we have a big audience, is I want to ask Marquise to come back up and what do you think about the meeting? Was this your first Toastmasters meeting that you've been to? Okay, yeah, if you can just kind of give some feedback, like what you thought of it, and if you want to come back.
Hey everybody, Marquise again. I just wanted to say this was awesome. This was an awesome experience. I've never been in a club or organization where I'm put up front, and especially on the first day. So this was awesome. I had a great opportunity to speak, connect with everybody online, here in person, and I absolutely enjoyed it. So thank you for having me.
Thanks for coming. We hope to see you again. And there's a lot of people on Zoom, so I've asked Elvis Lopez, who is our VP of Education, to maybe talk to everybody there if he has a moment to kind of talk to them. Thanks, Elvis.
Thank you, David. Yeah, absolutely. So at this time, we would like to go back to our guests, and please let us know what your experience has been with the meeting tonight. So I would like to start with some of the ones that are online. Maybe James Chavez.
Hello, everyone. My name is James Chavez, and I'm here as a member of the Windstream family with Miss Ernestine. And so my impression of the meeting, well, I really enjoyed the speech at the beginning. I felt like it was really well put together, Natalie. Hats off and congratulations on your business. I'd like to know if there's a website or something, right? I could try your product out, so it'd be cool. And in addition to that, just overall, just the meeting was really well organized and ran really well. So it was a good experience altogether. Thank you.
Thank you, James. And we also have another guest, Georgina. I don't think we had the opportunity to see you introduce yourself or hear you introduce yourself at the beginning of the meeting. Can you please let us know what you thought about the meeting and your interest in Toastmaster?
Yeah, so my name is Georgina, and the same, I'm from the Windstream family with CJ and Ernestine. And I'm just excited to learn all these new things because it is pretty new for me. So I'm just excited for more.
Thank you. Thank you. We're glad that you're here with us tonight. Also, we have James. Can you please introduce yourself and let us know what you think about the meeting tonight?
Hi, good evening, everybody. Yes, my name is James. I'm also here with from Windstream with the other James and Georgina and CJ and Ernestine. This was I was very impressed by this meeting. I love the structure. I love the organization. I loved how every role flowed right into the other. The speeches were very well put together. Mesa Fresca, definitely going to check out the website. Very, very impressed from this.
You're on mute.
Oh, so sorry. I was saying that you know, we already have a very good quorum from Windstream tonight, and it seems like you're ready to roll, starting your clock. So we're happy to have you here, and of course you're welcome to come and visit us anytime. So with that, I think I'll pass you back to David.
Thank you, Elvis. Appreciate it. And thanks for all of our guests coming. Special thanks to Ernestine for inviting everybody. There was a moment we were thinking about canceling the meeting because there were so many of our members that had to not come tonight. So we're like, we don't know if there's going to be anybody here. So it turned out to be a great evening, great meeting. And I appreciate everybody coming. And finally, any officer meetings, Natalie is our VP of Public Relations. And like I said, the main one was Balut, but he's not here tonight. But other than that, I think we had a great meeting. We actually finished on time, and hopefully we'll see everybody next week, either in person or on Zoom. So good night, everybody.
David.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Natalie.
I dropped in the chat for anyone that was asking me about Mesa Fresca. I dropped the website, but I can drop it again if anyone wants to grab it. And then, of course, please follow us on Instagram for Queen City Toastmasters, and I'll drop that in the chat too if you're not already following us. That way you know the themes for each week and can join the conversation.
Perfect. All right. Thank you much. All right. And where's the gavel? I'll close the meeting. Good night, everybody.
Thank you.
Good night.
Good
Thank you,
night.
David.
Thank you. Good night.
Bye.
Right.
Good night.
Bye.